Usually, January is a slow month for horror, but Shudder attempts to remedy that this week with the release of their new Grossout comedy, Destroy All Neighbors. Let's see what all the ruckus is all about. Welcome back to ML Miller Frights. I'm ML Miller. Before we begin, please do me a favor and punch that like button down below. Share this video with all of your social media addicted pals. Click subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for notifications. Destroy All Neighbors is new streaming on Shudder. It's directed by Josh Forbes and written by Mike Benner, Jared Logan, and Charles A. Pieper. A struggling sound technician named William, played by Jonah Ray, dreams of completing his progressive rock album and has been working on it for over a decade. When a noisy neighbor named Vlad, played by Alex Winter, under heavy makeup, moves in next door, William's hope for completing his much-delayed album seem more distant than ever. While his girlfriend Emily, played by Kieran Diol, is getting more fed up by the day. William is losing his own mind due to the constant racket, but when William gathers the nerve to go over and confront his neighbor, it's the beginning of the end for his sanity as well as any normalcy in his life. While many seem to look back on the 90s as a wasteland for creativity, there were some wonderful horror gems that came out of that era, two of which mixed comedy and horror much like Destroy All Neighbors does. One of them is Freaked, which starred and was directed by one of Destroy All Neighbors cast members, Alex Winter. Most will recognize Winter from his work with Keanu Reeves in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures and its sequels, or maybe his role as one of the teen vampires in The Lost Boys. But much like his 1991 The Idiot Box series, which only lasted a season unfortunately on MTV, Winter had an irreverent and over-the-top comedy style that crossed over into his monster epic Freaked. It was frantic and all over the place, and while Winter seemed to only have produced and starred in Destroy All Neighbors, the breakneck pace and uncageable creativity makes it feel like a soul sibling to Freaked, or at least an inbred cousin. The second film Destroy All Neighbors reminded me of was another irreverent and offbeat descent into madness gem called The Vagrant, starring Bill Paxton, about a homeless person who drives a mild-mannered man insane and ruins his life. Both The Vagrant and Destroy All Neighbors share the same plot, yet Destroy All Neighbors goes quite a few steps further into the abyss of insanity. They would make a wonderful double feature. Add in Freaked, and you've got one winner of a triple play. But naming movies this film reminded me of is doing Destroy All Neighbors a disservice, as it's an imaginative and hyperactive film on its own. Through vivid imagery, over-the-top practical gore effects, and rapid-speed camera work, this movie never lets up and leaves no moment to catch one's breath. And while comedy is always subjective, I found it to work for me most of the time. Again, I was a fan of the irreverent humor associated with Alex Winter's work in the past, and if you're familiar with that, and it appealed to you, I think this form of gross-out and off-kilter antics will work for you too. Still, those who like a more straightforward method of setting up jokes with a more predictable delivery are going to find things a bit too frantic and random. Destroy All Neighbors definitely exists in its own distinct and kooky world where madness is something very familiar. The cast is really what makes this one so good. I first saw Jonah Ray in the recent Satanic Hispanics anthology, and his performance was a true standout, offering up a manic performance being the straight guy reacting to all of the craziness around him. That's pretty much the same role he plays in Destroy All Neighbors, but he still has a likability and is given quite a depthy character to work with. Kind of like a Jimmy Stewart lovable loser kind of character. Having many unfinished projects in my life that are still taking shape, I understand the main conflict Ray's character goes through as he attempts to finish his prog rock album. The other standout, of course, is Alex Winter, who gives an animated and over-the-top performance as Vlad, the noisy neighbor from hell. Under heavy prosthetics, Winters goes full maniac with this role. And once that gore occurs, Winters really lets loose. Destroy All Neighbors also has quite a few cameos worth noting. That's comedian Kumail Nanjiani in a very small role. Reno 911's Tom Lennon plays William's boss and has a bigger role, but this ensemble cast of weirdos and misfits really do make for a unique and, most importantly, fun ride. Finally, the effects, which appear to be mostly practical, are a marvel to look at. From animated intestines that play the drums to charred talking corpses, this film had this former Fangoria addict pleased as punch. Things are goppy and gross and in your face, and much like Bruce Campbell did in Evil Dead 2, Jonah Ray takes all of this hilarious grue seriously and reacts comically, yet still realistically, to all the wet, gory madness. Destroy All Neighbors has a few pacing problems. William goes from zero to furious with all the noise in what seems to be one night, and his girlfriend Emily's decision to leave him also seems rushed. But all of this has to happen to get the story rolling, so I'm willing to look over it, as it only makes the getting to the good, goofy, and gory stuff all the quicker. Director Josh Forbes helped produce the truly disturbing film Decay, as well as directed the ultra-grody Contracted Phase 2. None of them match the tone of Destroy All Neighbors, but he still shows a skill at managing the tender balance between comedy, horror, and heart. But helping him out with the comedy are writers Mike Benner from Bob's Burgers, Jared Logan from The Late Show with James Corden, and Charles A. Pieper, who has written and directed a bunch of short films himself. This combination of writers and directors worked wonders, and if you're looking for off-the-cuff comedy that isn't afraid to churn the stomach and paint the walls red, Destroy All Neighbors is it. It blends horror and comedy seamlessly, and even has an ending that made me feel somewhat uplifted by the time the credits rolled.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're doomed. Oh, you're doomed. You're